Hello, welcome to the Dojo Marketing News Podcast by Exposure Ninja. This week we're going to be talking about all sorts of things, especially AI overviews, and whatever comes next. So, Tim, what's your story for this week?
My story is that ChatGPT has just dropped a new update for content writers, and it's probably the ChatGPT update since its release that I am most excited about.
Wow, that's a big statement, Tim, because you have been very excited about ChatGPT. So I'm excited to hear about that for sure.
Yeah, tell us more. Go on.
I can show you. Would you like me to show you, Dale?
Go for it. Audio listeners,
Okay.
hop on over to YouTube and you'll be able to see everything that Tim is talking about right now.
And I will also explain what I'm talking about as well for those who just can't be bothered to open their eyes. Maybe you're driving or you're in the gym or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, if you're driving, please don't open YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Behave.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
good. This is good, but it's not that good. So this is called ChatGPT-4o with Canvas. So 4o it's not the latest model. So the latest model is o1. That's the one that can reason with itself and think through its thought process. So this is 4o, which is the one before that. But now it has something called Canvas, and this was sort of snuck out there. It wasn't a huge, like, hey, look at this amazing new thing. But I've been playing with it, and I think it's a bit of a game changer for writing. So much so that, we've sort of made some changes, and I've actually changed my position on AI writing as a result of this. So I'm going to show you a demo. And we're actually just going to go through a demo of writing a blog post using Canvas. And I'm doing this for the construction business that I'm invested in. And I'm going to sort of set the scene and explain how it all works as we go through this process. So I've written a prompt here, which is basically set the scene, explained what the business does, some of the clients the business has had, and given ChatGPT a summary of what the article is going to be about. So this article is going to be about a new round of funding that is coming out next year. And I've given it the angle that I want to take. I think this is really important. So I haven't just said, write me an article about this. I've given it an angle and an opinion and a perspective that I need it to use. I could just say, write me an article about this new wave of funding, and it would produce something entirely generic and completely worthless that would essentially just summarize exactly what's already in the AI overview. So that would be pointless. We're not going to waste time and server space doing that. So instead, I've given it a unique perspective because I understand the business, I know the industry, and I've asked it to help me structure the article. So we're just going to click go, and hopefully it's going to work. But what we will see is that we've got this new sort of canvas at the side. So this is a little bit like Claude Artifact. So for those who are listening, my ChatGPT conversation has gone to the left-hand side of the screen, and on the right-hand side of the screen, I've got this big canvas which the article, or the outline at least, has been generated in. So far, so good. This just feels like artifacts, but some of the tweaks and some of the sort of user interface stuff make this actually, I think, much more interesting. So let's say that I didn't really like this intro. I felt that this intro was a little bit impersonal, or let's say that I wanted to instead establish more credibility. What I could do is highlight this section, and I could just click on Ask ChatGPT. So boost the credibility. So I've just highlighted a section, and I'm just telling ChatGPT what I want to change about it of this article by setting the scene and explaining our business as well. And what it will then do is, previously with ChatGPT, it had then to go and write the entire article again. And this meant that you were constantly refining. But every time you refined something, every time you made any changes, it had to write the whole article again. You'd end up losing a bunch of the stuff that you liked, and it made it quite hard work. But here we can see it's just swept through and it's updated the bits that we need. So this is pretty useful. You can also go in and just add stuff. So let's say that I wanted to put in a section here, just said, here's how housing associations can prepare. And then I could just go over here and say, complete the next step section. And we'll see it sweeping through, and it will get to that section, and hopefully it will then Where's it gone? All right, no, we got some next steps here instead. Fine, whatever. It's collaboration, people. It's live. Sometimes they don't do what you think. And here we've just updated it. So I found this massively shortcutted the process because I could start a thought and then I could let ChatGPT finish the thought. You can also click down here and you can have like a sort of a live commenting thing. So on Google Docs or whatever, you can add comments to certain sections where you can have it suggest edits. And what it's going to do is it's going to read through its own work and then it's going to comment on any edits that it wants to make. Oh, it's failed to comment. There we go. This is in preview mode. You can also make it longer or shorter. So there's like a little slider here. So you can make it much longer. You can make it much shorter. You can also do the same sort of thing with reading level. So you can make it much easier to read. You can make it graduate school level. You can make it kindergarten level, or you can make it graduate school. You can make it much harder, and lots of degrees of difficulty in between. You can add final polish. I'm not entirely sure what that does. Or if you want to absolutely blitz the thing with emojis, then you can add emojis. It tends to go a little bit overkill and absolutely stuff this thing with emojis. The reason I think this is game changing is because when I was writing a blog, I could tweak as we were going. We're collaborating on it together. It would look at my tweaks, and if I said, update this section or make this section a bit longer, it would make that section longer, taking into consideration the changes that I'd have made. So this was really like you're sat next to someone working on something together, rather than they're sat like on the other end of a phone and you have to keep barking instructions to them. It can see your changes and it can collaborate with you in almost real time. The blog post that I was producing on this topic and other topics around this incredibly boring subject of SHDF Wave 3 honestly were amazing. I was reading them and thinking, that's really, really interesting. This is great stuff. Now, I had to have an opinion on it. I had to have a perspective. The idea came from me. The source material came from me. The case studies, the unique perspective came from me. But as a writing partner, I think this is completely going to change the game. And we are working out how we get it rolled out across the teams for clients that want to use AI. Of course, not everyone wants to use AI, but for clients who want to use AI, we're figuring out how we can get this rolled out. Because it's only been out a week, but I think this is awesome. But Dale, Jess, what do you think?
I think my first initial thought is it's actually really positive. But for those who are listening rather than watching, it's important to note that Tim gave it a really fantastic prompt at the start. You knew kind of the vibe that you wanted to give. You knew sort of the positioning you wanted to take. You were quite you've included the angle that you want to take and things like that you kind of need the marketing knowledge and need to understand your audience to be able to put that in, which then results in a much more higher quality article than if you were just write about funding for houses, that was a lot more vague. So I think that's super, super important. I think it was really great to see. I also love the idea of this. Sometimes I will write a video script or a blog and I'm like, I just kind of it needs a little summon. And I feel like being able to put it into a tool like this and being like, could you make some final tweaks? Or I need this intro to have a bit more impact, looking at the rest of the blog, how would you add that impact, is really great and kind of gives you it kind of can boost your confidence and sort of help you in areas that isn't just writing the whole thing, because there's loads of us that love to write and we're just I don't really want the AI to do that because I freaking love doing this. But being able to have it as a little friend and a companion that can help you improve your writing and potentially even leave comments on your work explaining a change and why you want to make that change is awesome. And I think that's great. Is this part of the Pro program, Tim? Or I would assume you have to pay for this because it's pretty cracking.
Yes, you have to be on Pro. I think it's coming to education and stuff later on. And I don't, whether it will come to free version, I don't know. This is in beta at the moment, so it can't do things like add images in line. And I haven't seen it do any online stuff like looking up and providing citations or anything like that.
Got you. Very cool though.
But I agree exactly what you said, Jess. You have to have an angle, and this has really got me thinking. I mean, we've been thinking and talking a lot about AI generated content over the last almost 2 years now since the original ChatGPT came out. And this has got me thinking a lot about how the impact of this, right? Because for a while, generic content, the clock has been ticking. You know, if let's say that SHGF Wave 3 has a due date, right? When is SHGF Wave 3 coming? That might have been a blog that you could write a couple of years ago and get ranked for SHDF Wave 3 start date or something like that. And Google would have ranked it. Maybe you'd have a featured snippet and it would have included the start date. And maybe you might have got some traffic coming to your site who was interested in that. And maybe some of them could have been a client. And that was like a strategy, right? You could just publish those types of generic blogs and you could do, you know, a few of them a month and you'd build some real strong traffic. And I think, you know, there are some industries that are sleepy enough where you can actually still do that. And we've got clients in some industries that are doing fantastically well still doing that. But I think more and more industries, that type of generic blog post is going to become so easy to write. They're going to be flooding the internet. And of course, we've already got AI overviews, which is essentially writing answers to those sort of basic questions. And you know, whether people even click through on some of those really basic questions where you just want an answer is, you know, it remains to be seen. But I think if that type of generic, low quality, short blog post is your strategy, I think this might blow the doors wide open. And all of a sudden, a lot of businesses that haven't been doing that will be competing with you because it's so easy to do that thing. So then it gets me thinking, well, so what do we do? What do the businesses that are really working hard with their marketing, how do they stand out? And I think it's what you said, it's understanding your business, your audience, your industry, so that you can provide some sort of unique insight. Because if there's, you know, 100 blog posts about when is this funding coming, how does Google know which ones to rank in AI overviews, which ones to feature, which ones to link to? Well, it's going to link to the ones that have some sort of unique perspective, right? If we've helped loads of projects get funded through this thing, you know, we've got extensive experience in these things. Let's give you some stories of projects that's way more valuable. And that's the type of stuff that we see ranking in AI overviews already. It's not just, you know, the 5,000 articles that say exactly the same thing that are completely generic and could have just been written by ChatGPT. So I think it actually increases the requirement of the writers to add their own perspective, their own data, their own insights to make these blogs worth publishing at all.
Tim, one of the first thoughts I have when you're talking about how this is all evolving, you can have content, is how it relates to existing SEO and how it's very much dependent upon link building for Google to understand a brand or how, you know, where to place a website in the rankings. Do you see that changing in the future? Do you think brand mentions could be more involved in it, or is there something else that's still to come?
I think there's two angles that are going to be really important. Most of these AI chat interfaces, they have both the large language model, which has been trained on content, on training data, and sometimes they will give you an answer based on that training data. So here's an example. What sort of health and safety accreditations are available in the construction industry in the UK? We've worked with a business in this space and they are featured very prominently in these types of searches. And you can even ask which is the best. And again, they're featured incredibly prominently. So that's a result of us publishing so much content about this business and linking it to these sorts of phrases that the training data has so much of this information. So when you ask the model, it just spits out the answer. So that's the first side. And then there's a second side to this, which is a lot of these models, when they go and do some more advanced search or research, they'll basically use a search engine in the background. They'll run a web search. And if you're going to be, you know, if you're ranking well for whatever they're searching for, you're going to make it into the answer because they're essentially just running the same web search, which is what AI overviews does, right? This is why if you're ranking well on regular Google, you'll get featured more in AI overviews because it's using the top results and it's summarizing them and giving the answer. So I think link building is massively important because that's going to feed the background web search component of this. But I also think brand mentions, getting featured, getting talked about in industry publications, also hugely visible. It's hugely important because that's going to feed the training data that means the models just spit out your business. So I think both really, really important.
Jess, I don't know if you recall that earlier today we had a call, and in there you were mentioning about Surreal, the cereal, and how they were basically just trying to appear on every platform next to the phrase, was it like high protein cereal? Is that
Cereal,
correct?
yeah. It's something to do with high protein cereal. I know that's what they sell. And basically I did a search for like what's good about protein cereal, and they were not super high up in like the blue links, and actually none of the links in the answer actually link to them, other than kind of when you first boot it up, there'll be one link that isn't for a particular line, and that was Surreal. But they were mentioned within it, and I think it is just because they are everywhere. Like, you know, we kind of sometimes roll our eyes a little bit and be like, why are you on LinkedIn? But potentially this is why, because they know that they're just getting their name linked to high protein cereal by doing this kind of guerrilla marketing, and, you know, putting big billboards up and things like that, which kind of ties into my story a little bit later on, where people are getting a bit more, we're seeing a lot more creativity in the marketing space in terms of kind of combining offline and online, and this is the impact it can have, which is awesome.
Tim, I'm almost kind of getting flashbacks to like when I started doing SEO, like 2013, 2014. I was like, can you get your website mentioned for this specific exact match term? It's like, yeah, originally it was like, get the link in for the exact match term. But now it's like, well, it gradually shifted to like be in the same paragraph as that term. In a way, it seems like it's still maybe quite powerful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, potentially, yeah. Are we going back to the days of exact match anchor text and things like that? Because all of these language models, right, they're building a neural network. They're building associations between different entities, and if you can build an association in that neural network between, you know, your target keyword and your business, and they're pretty closely linked, then statistically you're more likely to be showing up there. So if you like high protein cereal and surreal are always talked about in the same thing, guess what? Gemini or whatever, based on some large language model, is going to be making those connections and spitting those connections back out to the user, because that's sort of how they're designed to work. So yeah, I think you're onto something there. You kind of want to always walk around with your high protein cereal badge if you're surreal.
Jess, I think that takes us on to your story for this week. You said something about surreal there, and you know, doing something a little bit different to get those mentions. Perhaps you'd like to tell us what your headline is for this week and take us into your story.
Yeah, so my headline is just cheap conversation starters. Actually, these were two posts that Dale shared with the team at Exposure Ninja, which I thought were really fab. The first one is by Emery Barr and Tim Davidson. Basically, what they did is they went to the Inbound big marketing event, and they didn't want to pay for a stall or stand. What they did is they just wore t-shirts, one that said like FAI SDRs, which is AI Sales Development Representatives, and one that said Salesforce 10 out of 10 perfect, no notes. And the purpose of these shirts was to create a conversation. So people would come up to them and be like, oh, I agree. I also hate AI sales development representatives. Or, what do you mean you think Salesforce is perfect? And they sell a sales engagement software. So they have found these two things that are quite polarizing in their industry that they kind of sell a solution to. And then they're kind of inflaming people, getting people to come up to them to be like, that's funny, or like, I agree, or what do you mean you think Salesforce is good? And then they can be like, oh, well, have you heard of our product? And also they turned it into a bit of like social content, and they created a competition between the two of them, and were like, oh, we're going to speak to 10 people and see which t-shirt they like the best, or they agree with the most, or whatever. So it like is relatable to their audience and created a conversation at an event where people were there to talk about marketing, but it's a little bit different than having a stand, or, you know, giving away a free iPad that isn't necessarily relevant to your brand. But they're like, people love to hate. People are haters. They love to get angry about something. They love to share their opinions. And that's exactly what happened with this. And like I said, they had it as kind of like an offline marketing thing, but also as like a online thing because they created a video based around it. There's also a similar story from Yeti and Red Bull Racing that was shared by Benjamin Harris, who's the senior manager of creative projects at Red Bull. Red Bull Racing specifically. And basically, I think Yeti is one of their sponsors, Dale, is that correct? Or they have they have like a deal with them. And one of the things that they're doing is they take a Yeti cooler to every city they go to, and they've brought like $20 worth of stickers off Etsy that are like relevant to the locations that they're traveling to. And once the game, either when they start it or when the game weekend is over, they stick a sticker on it and post it on social media. And they said these videos are consistently some of our highest performing social features over a race weekend. And I guess it's just because, like, I mean, there's stickers all over my computer. Like, people love stickers. You know, even adults love stickers. In my opinion, Formula One cars are covered in stickers anyway. So they've obviously found something that people are like intrigued and they get excited, whether that's because they want to see what sticker is added in their location or their favorite race, or who knows. But for some reason, it kicks off and people love it. And they're like, this costs us $20. Dale did say, well, also you have to pay for people to travel somewhere. But if they were already there doing marketing stuff, I guess it's kind of just a little bonus thing. And they're like, it takes like 5 minutes and it consistently performs well. And I just thought it was really cool because they're finding ways to do something that their audience really like and that they enjoy. Like, maybe they tried it once, it didn't work, they wouldn't have continued to do it. But because their audience love it, they're like, we might as well continue. And yeah, I thought they were really cool. I don't know if either of you have any thoughts. Of course, Dale, you have some thoughts because you were the one that brought the videos to my attention. But Tim, what do you think?
The first one in particular, wearing the shirts with the inflammatory statements, I feel like this is a reflection of politics at the moment, right? It's almost like the key to getting an audience excited in politics is inflammatory statements, and particularly things that people identify with as part of their, as part of their core identity. And it seems logical that businesses would then also sort of take this route. Now they're being safe in a way, right? By saying F as in like beep, AI sales development representatives. They're picking a battle against a defenseless enemy. No one's going to stand up for the AI SDRs, right?
Somebody in the video did say, I actually like them.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe
Right.
they are.
Maybe they are, but you're not gonna. What they're not doing is they're not saying F Salesforce or F Monday.com or F this person that's like genuinely contentious. They're not saying like Salesforce a bunch of lies and scumbags. So that we've often talked about in marketing, if you're going to pick a battle, you have to pick a battle against a sort of a universal defenseless enemy, really. Bureaucracy, the government, things like that, pretty safe to go up against. So I like this. I like this as a strategy. I can't help thinking that if you're going to wear, I mean, one of my toxic traits is feeding back on statements that are used at events. Like I just think people don't think about event marketing in the right way. And yeah, they start. I'd love to see the split test. Basically, I'd love to see the split test first with these contentious statements and the conversations that have started. How many turn into leads versus, some sort of really nicely optimized CTA. But yeah, that's for another day. I like it though. I think it's cool, creative.
Yeah, I think it really works when you're in a fairly static space. So if you're in the construction sector, or I opened up a LinkedIn the other day and somebody I know was at an event and they it was short 45-second video scanning around. This is what it looks like, and everybody looked bored. Like if you want to cut through all of that, do something fun. Like that's why I started to see, especially in the US, where this seems to be much more of a thing, where people are bringing experiential stuff to events. They're like, okay, you know who we are, you probably do, and if you don't, that's why this massive stand is here. But like I think I mentioned in our Slack the other day, caricature artists are becoming quite a thing at events in the US, because it's like you will sit and have your caricature done and you'll be able to talk to the reps that are there, and then you got a thing to put up on the wall, and every time you see it in your office you'll be like, oh yeah, that company, that was really fun, I really like that company. Little tiny things like that. The cost of hiring a caricaturist for a day in a small booth versus a massive booth with interactive screens and stuff like that, I can see the appeal. Like, there's Comsor, who I'm quite high on at the moment. They like gifted dinosaur is like their mascot, their logo. They gifted Comsor branded Lego dinosaur sets to like loads of people that came in. There was like a raffle and things like that. People are doing like things that will just make you remember the brand, even if you don't necessarily remember specifically how it benefits you and the problem that you have. You just first remember the brand, so that when you do come up to search and in the AI overviews it says Comsor is my SDR support, whatever, you remember, oh, Comsor, and you're more likely to click them versus somebody else. Plus, I love the idea of doing t-shirts, because that's like 30 40 quid's worth of printing versus 600 quid to hire a gelato or espresso maker thing for the corner of your booth that nobody wants. That's the only thing people come to your booth for. They just want the free coffee or the free ice cream. Couldn't care less about anything like that. But if you do something fun, maybe a little bit contrarian, I think the ROI is pretty high on that. And another thing Comsort did a couple of years ago, maybe this year, a couple of years ago, they just turned up in a huge dinosaur outfit, like a huge, like a dinosaur mascot like thing, and everyone just wanted their picture taken with them. It's just like a little bit of fun, a little bit of fun helps. Those two people with the t-shirts, they had like hundreds of people posting pictures of themselves with the person alongside them on their own LinkedIn, so they're getting that brand reach as well, brand awareness too, for very little spend. I love it. I think it's really smart. But once everybody starts doing it, it's going to be a bit of it's going to lose its impact, I imagine.
Yeah,
So,
I think the main thing for me, I think for me, I'm like, please make it connected to your brand, whether that's a phrase, whether it's your logo. Because I saw, I always chat about CallRail because I really like the marketing work they do, and I think maybe they were at Inbound as well, actually, and they had a wall which was, I think it's Girl with the Pearl Earring, the painting, but she's like holding a phone. What they did is they took photos of people who came to the stand and put them up on the wall. But it wasn't just, oh, we're going to take your photo. It was, we need all of you to create this masterpiece. Or, we need you to be able to do this thing. And I was like, I kind of like that because it feels like they're trying to send a message as well. It's not just like, come have your photo taken. Because, the caricature thing, I was like, really? But then when you said, oh, they sit down, they actually have to talk to someone, you're like, that makes sense. But if it was just, oh, have your photo taken and then go, if you're like, oh, we're taking your photo to be part of this thing because this is what we're pushing this year and we're really pushing the human side and we want to show that when you all come together you make a masterpiece, and then you're like, oh, I get it. So I think it's really important to like think about the connection, because like the Comsor like dinosaur Lego does sound cool, but it could also fall a bit like people are just going to be like, Lego, thank you, goodbye. That would be me. If I'm being really honest with you, that would be me. So I think making sure that you have a real way of connecting it to the message you're trying to convey at the event is super, super important. Like, you shouldn't just go to an event and be like, we are these people. You should be going to an event and being like, this is our like campaign that we're pushing this year, and this is, because I think that's so much more memorable, and it also shows that you really know what's making your target audience tick. This is why I like the t-shirts so much, because they're really like, we know that you have trouble with Salesforce, we know that you hate these AI sales reps, we get you and we're making a thing for you. And I just thought, I thought it was great. Really love it.
And I actually think most businesses would struggle to come up with a slogan they could put on a t-shirt, because it's actually, you have to understand your target audience and their key pain points and how you solve that pain point, and then find a statement that kind of aligns you and them really closely to the point where they want to have their photo taken with you, because people post things on social because it makes them look good, right? So whether it's like an inside joke or some belief that they hold, which they're really passionate about, it would be a fun exercise, wouldn't it, to go and talk to clients and businesses and say, oh, if you could put a slogan on a t-shirt, what do you actually stand for? I bet a lot of them would really struggle, and that's probably, there's probably all sorts of symptoms of that in the rest of their marketing, because it would mean that there's maybe slightly less clear positioning, and it might take them longer to come up with headlines if they don't know what their sort of their core belief is. What's your put a flag in the ground, this is what I stand for type statement? I'm sure someone's going to write a book on this.
Maybe it'll be us. We can just use ChatGPT to help us out with that one. Just a short, short little novelette. But on the subject of events, if you want to meet us in person, you can come to the B2B Expo in November at the Excel Centre in London. So that's the 27th and 28th of November. You'll be able to see Tim talk live about the future of search, and we'll be doing our own little thing there too. But that thing will be something valuable to you, which is to offer you a free website and marketing review. If you want a review of your marketing to see how many opportunities we can spot to hit your goals for this year and for 2025 as well, you can go right this second to exposureninja.com/review. Give us your information, tell us all of your goals and your desires and the dreams for your brand and your marketing. We'll see how we can help you, and then ping that review over if you're eligible in a video within a week's time. So that's exposureninja.com/review, and it's the B2B Marketing Expo, 27th, 28th of November at the Excel Centre in London.
Smooth.
That was smooth.
It was very smooth.
Well, it takes me on to the last story, and I'll keep this one brief because it's actually in relation to what Tim was talking about before, which is about AI overviews. So a couple of news stories are floating around at the moment, including ads coming to AI overviews. And if you're not aware of what's happening there, I would just recommend going to linkedin.com/exposure ninja. It's a post that explains how these ads are starting to appear in the US on mobile devices. And this is the immediate release of it. You can only expect it's going to expand a lot in the next 12 months, if not much, much sooner than that. Revenue is of key importance to Alphabet, the parent company of Google. They're going to want to see this pushed out pretty rapidly. And the fact it's already appearing means that something is certainly working. But the two parts I wanted to cover today is this revelation that came to me, which is position 1 of Google is effectively position none. And whenever we see people using AI overviews, and people are starting to use them more, and apparently the 18 to 24 bracket is using it a lot, especially Google Lens, which I'll come to in a second. They're coming through to the AI overview, and every time you see a video or a GIF or something, GIF, whatever, it's 2-3 scrolls through the AI overview or the AI organized librarian SERP design that I saw described on Google's blog the other day. Nobody's getting to the first link. Practically, it's like the second page of Google now. If you're the first link on the first page of Google, practically you could hide a corpse there. You've got to rank in AI overviews. And something that Kevin Indig, who is somebody who've had an Exposure Ninja podcast once before, works in SEO and has previously worked at Shopify and done great work there, did some study with SE ranking, pulled 500,000 AI overview results and started to compare that against public data, common crawl data, and so on. And believe it or not, most websites that featured in AI overviews were the ones that ranked at the top of Google. So if you aren't already working on improving your SEO and ranking at the top of Google, you're going to have a bad time, because AI overviews is the dominant thing. It's going to be the only thing. The feature snippets that are currently appearing just below, on desktop, I'll open it up and it'll be AI overview, feature snippet, and somewhere at the bottom, keep looking, there's the link. So you've got to make sure that you're ranking top there at the regular links, just so you have a chance to be in the AI overviews. Because as zero-click search becomes more of the thing, where people, they open up their mobile, they open up desktop, they do a search, they look through the AI overview answer, and they say, okay, I figured out what I need to know. I'll go to LinkedIn, or go to Instagram, or go directly to the website, or whatever it is. They may not click on anything in there at all. So you've got to make sure that your brand, your business, is somehow featured in there. Doesn't matter if you're national or local, it's going to get better at giving you local results as well. So if you search for which is the best ballet school for first timers, which is a search I was doing just yesterday, it gives you
that's adorable. Results. You're going to start ballet.
Yeah, how did you guess? I've got the figure for it, so why not? So I'm looking through there, and it's giving me more localized results. So no matter how wide your location settings are for your campaigns, you've got to have SEO as part of it. And you've got to figure out how to be in AI overviews, because you're going to get left behind if you're not doing it already. So yeah, that was my story for this week. Get working on it if you aren't already, otherwise you're going to get left behind, because this is the real deal. This is the future of search happening today.
Just to be clear, that I've long thought the same. When Google releases a new AI thing, and then you talking about those GIFs, short videos that it shows with the illustration of how it works, right? And you're like, wait, where are the organic results? Especially with the new AI ordered pages now. But there are still plenty of searches where those features are nowhere to be seen, right? I'm just looking at best digital cameras for kids. And this is a old school 2022 type search result, right? We've got sponsored listings at the top, we've got search ads, and then we got organics. Like, it's not everyone is packed full of AI features, but Google has started with recipes and travel stuff, and it uses AI a lot more in these types of verticals. But having said that, I guess if you had to bet one way or the other, what we're probably looking at here is Google actually just building an entirely new type of search engine and putting the old type of search engine underneath it, really. And then it's just propagating out across all the different verticals. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I half expect if you were to navigate on mobile in the US, use VPN, it would probably come up with an AI overview. That would be my guess. I can't really say for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, fair. I'll check where you keep going. I'm sure you're right. This is where things are going, isn't it? I think that's what we're saying. This is the direction of travel. We don't want to be relying on yesterday's model.
Absolutely. Now, if you go into 2025, I know we are in planning season, we are in strategy season. Every kind of every social person I see at the moment is all about how to prepare for next year. And hopefully, if you're on our Exposure Ninja YouTube channel, you'll see some helpful content that will help you to plan for next year as well. It's all talking about like how to do SEO. SEO is always going to be a massive factor, but it's just how you go about it, which is changing. And if you're not future-proofing yourself for this inevitability of this improved design, however you want to think about it, you're going to be having a hard time. It's going to take 2 times, 3 times, 5 times the effort to catch up with your competitors and the rest of the market, because a lot of people are already heavily invested in making this work, including our clients. Any final thoughts before we end for the week?
No, I just think this was a wealth of information. Like, there was so much in there, and I think it's lots of different things to think about. I think people are going to be driving, and if they're listening to it in the car, and be like, I need to get out this current action, everything right now. But yeah, one step at a time.
I think there's a lot of really interesting and useful stuff in there that people will be able to go away and learn from, hopefully put into action for 2025. If you do have any questions, you can drop them into the comments on Spotify as well as on YouTube as well. If you want to hear over 300 plus podcasts about digital marketing, SEO, content marketing, paid media, all that jazz, head over to exposureninja.com/podcast and you'll be able to catch them all there. I'll see you all next week. Take care and goodbye. Bye.